Recording has been started.
Good morning, everyone. We are meeting for our monthly Speaking Up series. My name is Dr. Adityanji, and I am the President and Chairperson Board of Director of International Commission for Human Rights and Religious Freedom. On behalf of the Board of Directors and the executive team of the ICHRRF, I invite all of you for our monthly Speaking Up series. ICHRRF is a US-based nonprofit organization that is focused on upholding human rights and religious freedom through continuous monitoring, policy intervention, and collaboration. We are focused on educational, research, legal, and human rights advocacy and charitable purposes. We strive to be an advocate for the human rights and religious freedom of underrepresented communities all across the world. We do believe that humankind can no longer afford to be selectively vocal about the rights of only a specific set of people. A more humane and just world necessitates fair treatment of all living beings. Our main focus is on indigenous rights and freedom, free speech, and cultural preservation. Some of our initiatives include monitoring violations of the freedoms and sanctity of religious and philosophical minorities across the world, research into and documentation of the culture, history, and challenges faced by such communities, policy recommendations on human rights, religious diversity, and pluralism to international organizations, agencies, national and local governments, collaboration to support the cultural and philosophical diversity across the world. And of course, we have a Professor Ved P. Nanda Fellowship Training Program in Human Rights and Religious Freedom. This is the logo of the International Commission for Human Rights and Religious Freedom. The topic of today's Speaking Up series is human rights violations and atrocities in occupied Balochistan. Our speaker is Ali Haidar Baloch. Today is Sunday, June 25th, 2023. And you'll be seeing our distinguished speaker. This is his picture. A little bit about the speaker. Ali Haidar is a postgraduate student studying law in London, UK. He is an active member of the Free Balochistan movement, a Baloch political party advocating for independence of Balochistan from Pakistan. Previously, he lived in the occupied Balochistan. He worked as a practicing lawyer. He was forcibly abducted by the Pakistani security forces. He was held captive in a dungeon for a period of 3 years. This is the logo of the Free Balochistan movement. Just for sake of reference, Balochistan is a country of the size of France. It is occupied and split under the regimes of Pakistan and Iran. In Iran, there is Sistan Balochistan province that is inhabited by Baloch people. Despite its natural resources, massive natural resources, in the state of Pakistan, it remains by far the poorest territory under Punjabi-controlled Pakistan as well as under Iran's Shiite regime. For decades, there have been rounds of civil war crushed by the military state through genocide and systemic terrorism or via terrorist proxies. People have been made to disappear. Baloch culture is sought to be destroyed via state sponsored religious proxies, preaching a totalitarian brand of Islam. Till 1948, the Khalate of Balochistan was an independent state. Pakistan maneuvered and forcibly occupied the Balochistan, the two Baloch states that are currently in the province of Balochistan. Baloch people have been struggling for self-determination. I think this is from London. Balochistan is not Pakistan. Again, Baloch people protesting peacefully about asking for end of occupation. And this you will see is the map of Balochistan. It is a large province, sparsely populated, but rich with mineral resources. And here you see the Sistan Balochistan province of Iran. And both these countries are very suspicious about Baloch people and have been repressing them under their theocratic states, respective, one Shia, other Sunni. Before I hand over the platform to our speaker, there are some housekeeping rules. Please mute yourself to avoid noise interference. Please change your cell phone setting to vibration mode. Please do not interrupt our distinguished speaker. Questions will be taken only after the speaker is done with the lecture. Please send all your questions or comments by the chat function. Please be precise and brief in your questions. Only those members of the audience who identify themselves on the video camera will be allowed to ask questions. No anonymous questioners, please. We are recording this event and it will be later available on our YouTube channel as well as on our website. So there will be record of this. It is my distinct pleasure now to invite Haidar Ali Baloch, who is joining us from London, UK, to enlighten us about the human rights situation in occupied Balochistan. The floor is yours. Haidar Ali, kindly unmute yourself and you can start speaking. Namaste.
Thanks, Dr. Adityanji, and I'm very grateful to the platform that you've given me an opportunity to speak of the plight of Balochistan, to share the atrocities and the human rights violations in Balochistan. I'd like to share some of the slides I've just give me a second. I think I'm not able to share my slides. I might have some technical issues. So before going into the depth of the background of the problem, uh, the respected host has already mentioned that Balochistan is a country as big as France, and despite having a vast deposits of natural resources underneath its soil, the Balochistan has always remained poor. Why poor? It's a question, and it needs to be answered. Most of the people around the world may not know that since the occupation, since the forceful annexation, Baloch people have been fighting against Pakistan to restore their liberty, to restore their freedom. Since 1948, there have been five operations against the Baloch people and five rows of struggles in different times that Baloch people have started to restore their freedom against Pakistan. Now, the latest wave of violence started in 2000, early 2000, when uh, Baloch people have, started their recent struggle, which is going on still. It was the regime of General Pervez Musharraf, the Pakistani dictator. When the Baloch prominent leader Nawab Akbar Khan Bukti was assassinated by General Pervez Musharraf, so then it was time when Baloch ethnic people started their new struggle, which was armed struggle as well as the political struggle. In retaliation, the state of Pakistan started abducting and keeping people in the captives for long times. And I'm one of them. And I was kept for 3 years in the ICHRRF dungeons. Now, it was early 2007 when Ali Asghar Bangolzai was disappeared. He is still missing since today. Nobody knows about his whereabouts. And then in 2009, the chairman of Baloch National Movement, a pro-independent Baloch political party, was abducted in anti-terrorism court, in the premises of anti-terrorism court, in the daylight, and later, after 3 or 4 days, his dead body was recovered. Bullet-riddled dead body was recovered along with his two other friends, Lala Munir and Sher Muhammad. The road did not stop there. After this, a lot of Baloch activists, among them, there were students, there were teachers, there were lawyers, even there were people from the Pakistani forces as well. I mean, police, levies, the ones who just had a little bit of feeling of Baloch freedom, they were taken, kept in the dungeons, and thousands of them were killed and dumped on the roadsides. The records say that almost 5,000 bullet-riddled bodies have been recovered from Balochistan since 2001. These are not the terrorists, these are not the smugglers, the dead bodies were not of any criminals, they were purely Baloch civilians who were protesting, who were participating in demonstrations, who were going to press clubs to raise voice against the disappearances, enforced disappearances of Baloch people, Baloch activists. And some of them were, political members of the different political parties. And Pakistan kept on whisking them away, keeping them in dungeons, and killing and dumping them on the roadside. And the place where most of the dead bodies were thrown is called Murgab, which is very, I mean, uh, unfortunate, but very famous in Balochistan, that a lot of Baloch activists have been killed and dumped in that place. Now, the question arises that where people, Pakistani intelligence agencies keep these people. The reports say they're in different areas of Balochistan, like Quetta. Akuli camp is very famous there, and hundreds of Baloch activists who were kept there for 9 years. Some are still missing for 14 years, like Dr. D. Mohammed Baloch, one of the members of Baloch National Movement, Zakir Majid, a student leader, and Iqbal, a civilian who did not have any link with any political or armed group. He was taken on 2007, and still he is missing. Nobody knows whether he is dead or alive. And in the dungeons, what happens to the captives in the dungeons, in the eyesight dungeons? When I was picked up by the state-backed local death squads, we call them the ones who are criminal, habitual criminals, ISI and MI, the military intelligence, I mean to say, they empower them. They give them money, they give them weapons to either target, kill Baloch activists or pack them and take them to the ISI camps. I was also picked up by some of the ISI goons, the state-backed death squad members who were Baloch, unfortunately, but it is a better fact. So when I was taken to the ISI dungeon, in ISI camp, so there a lot of people were already kept for years and years. As the Punjabi Muslims, the members or the personnel of ISI who were Punjabi speaking, they know the Baloch do not like abusive language about the family members, and this is the main weapon they use it to harass Baloch activists in the dungeons and torture them mentally with the abusive languages about their family members. And I was kept blindfolded and chained with one leg in a 3 by 8 inch, feet small cell, which was also a toilet as well. That means I had to do my toilet in the same cell. And I was chained with my legs and blindfolded for almost 3 years. 2 years and 10 months. Almost 3 years. You were kept sleepless for nights and nights. You're hanged with the ceilings for nights and nights. And the other weapon they use against the captives in the dungeons is they try to radicalize them religiously. And they try to feed in your mind the hatred against we've got a sect called Zikri sect. Zikri Muslim. They're Muslims, but a bit different than the Sunni Muslims. This is called a Zikri Muslim sect. They try to feed hatred against their sect because they believe that most of the armed people are from the Zikri sect. They believe it is not true actually, but they believe this. And they try to feed hatred in the minds of the captives. They forcefully make you offer prayers 5 times, even in the toilet. They force you to keep beard, long beard, and they think that as Baloch people are secular, they are not religious extremists by nature, and they think that this is the responsibility of Punjabi Muslim, Pakistani Muslims to, by God, to Islamize Baloch people to make them good Muslim, as they call it, Mormon. So whenever there is an attack by the Baloch insurgents or Baloch freedom fighters outside of those cells, in Balochistan, where 4 or 5 Pakistani personnel are killed, in return, they take some of the captives from the dungeons, take them somewhere out, kill them, and throw them in the outskirts of the city. So, in order to let the fighters know that whenever you kill us, attack us, we will retaliate like this. If we cannot find you, we have your brothers, we have your relatives, we have your, country fellows. We kill them and throw them. By this, they want to, put pressure on the people on the civilians to stop their children from going to going towards the politics and and protests and I mean it's a sort of silencing the people who I mean advocate human rights, who advocate Baloch freedom. And in 2014, the Amnesty International also says reports this that in 2014 in Panjgur, which is a district in occupied Balochistan, a mass grave was found in Panjgur. A mass grave was found in Tutak area of Haidar district, which is also a district of occupied Balochistan. Hundreds of dead bodies were found there, but unfortunately, I mean, the world did not pay good attention to it. And it is believed that lot of, I mean, most of the dead bodies were of the ones who were missing, and the ones who have been taken recently, and the ones who were, I mean, taken for maybe for a long time and kept in dungeon for 10 or 14 years. Now, the situation is worsening day by day in Balochistan because you don't have freedom of expression there. You don't have the press freedom there. The pro-Baloch newspapers, I mean the newspapers which were run by the Baloch people, Baloch activists, they are fully banned in Balochistan. None of the Pakistani mainstream channels, I mean media channels, report whatever happens. They would like to report, I mean, a minor issue in Punjab or in Sindh or anywhere in Pakistan. Even if a donkey drowns in a lake, they do report it as a breaking news. But when someone is picked up in Balochistan, it goes unreported. And if a woman is picked up, it goes unreported. If a lot of people are killed in a raid, it also goes unreported. Even the IBMP, I mean VBMP camp, Voice for Baloch Missing Persons camp, has been attacked by the Pakistani ISI for multiple times. The reason was they wanted to make them silent because they believe that this is the against the national interest of Pakistan, and the people who are missing, they are not common civilians. They are not, I mean, good people. They are the agent of RAW. They're the agent of India, and they're the agent of I mean, Afghanistan, so on and so forth. After that, I mean, plight of the missing people, Pakistani people, when they felt pressure a bit from the world, they just formed a commission, so-called commission, which is called Commission for Inquiry of the Disappeared People, Enforced Disappeared People. What commission does, the commission harasses the women of the, I mean, the relative women of the missing people. There's a very famous case that a lady went to, I mean, before the commission. So the head of the commission, Mr. Retired Justice Javed Iqbal, told the lady that, why are you running after a missing husband? I mean, her husband was missing. You're so beautiful. You're so beautiful. You can get someone else. So one can believe that how honest Pakistan is to form such a commission. And the commission definition of enforced disappear is totally different from the international definition of the enforced disappear. The commission, I mean, definition says that the ones, I mean, the forces can only take away the people who are involved in illegal activities and the activities against the laws. It means even the international definition says you cannot disappear anyone forcefully, whether a criminal or not. So, but I mean, the commission allows ISI and MI and the other security agencies to disappear the ones who they think are against the state, I mean, against the, I mean, government of Pakistan. Even, I mean, any opposing voices. They can silence, they can take away, they can whisk them away and keep them for years and years, and nobody asks them. The judiciary is also powerless before the Pakistani army because whenever they take up any case of any disappeared person, so it is said to say that they are threatened. They receive phone calls, they receive threatening calls from the Pakistani army personnel or intelligence personnel that this is against the, national security you are doing. The ones who are, whose case is before you. So they are not, loyal Pakistanis. They are the Indian agents. So we have, we have purposely uh, disappeared them. When people go to police, so police is afraid to lodge a FIR. Even if someone has witnessed the frontier corps, the people who are in uniform, the forces personnel who are in uniform, in the daylight, people have seen them abducting people. And when you go to lodge an FIR and just nominate the FC personnel or frontier corps personnel, police refuse to nominate them in your FIR because they say they cannot afford it. They cannot afford to do so. So in such situations, people have left their homes and have migrated in Afghanistan, have taken refuge in Afghanistan and Iran. But the situation is not good for them there as well. In Afghanistan, you see, it is Taliban's government, and Taliban is said to be the pro-Pakistani government, where Baloch refugees are not safe. The ones who are in Iran, we can, after every week, we can hear that someone was shot dead. A refugee, Baloch refugee, was shot dead in Sistan, Balochistan, in occupied Balochistan in Iran. So it means people are not safe anywhere in the neighboring countries because both of the regimes in Taliban, in Afghanistan, the Taliban regime, and in Iran, which has already occupied a piece of Balochistan, and we are struggling to regain their peace as well. The displacement is very huge in Balochistan. The villages and villages have been wiped away by Pakistan. The houses have been burned. If they feel that in this house, one of the house member or household is a freedom fighter or struggling politically to regain their freedom, so the house is burnt. The women and the children are kept under the sky. They are compelled to live their life under the sky. So for that, they are compelled to migrate to Iran. They're compelled to migrate to Afghanistan. The situation, I mean, the financial situation, the economic situation of Baloch population in Balochistan is the respectable host mentioned already. The Balochistan has vast deposits of natural resources underneath its soil, but we do not have enough universities. Balochistan is 43% of Pakistani land, overall Pakistani land, 43% of overall country. But there are only three to, three universities only available in Balochistan at the moment. Only three universities in all over Balochistan. If a person is suffering from even malaria, which is not counted a lethal disease anymore in the world, but people are dying of malaria. People, the mortality ratio of maternity issues. The people, the women who are pregnant, the mortality rate is very high in Balochistan because there are no good hospitals. The ones who are suffering even from malaria, they need to go to Sindh, they need to go to, Punjab for the treatment, which costs them a lot of money. And employment is so high there in Balochistan. Unemployment is so high there in Balochistan as well. Most of the Baloch youth are tilted to go to Gulf countries to earn a living. And the ones who study, they finish the graduation, but after the graduation, they are compelled to uh, go to fly to Dubai, fly to Oman, fly to Qatar and Bahrain, I mean Gulf countries, to to earn a living. So in this way, Pakistan is in a way trying to uh, make people involved or busy in their financial problems in Balochistan. And the youth are so compelled to go abroad to earn a living, and they think that in this way, Baloch youth will not join freedom struggle, and they will not create problem for Pakistan or Pakistan's sovereignty. The other thing I'd like to mention in today's talk that Pakistan is trying to radicalize Baloch youth as well in Balochistan. Since 27, I mean 2007, till now, the numbers of madrasas, religious schools, I mean to say that, has increased. I mean, and now recently, the data say that there are more than 3,000 religious schools in Balochistan. What is the task in Balochistan? What do they do? The task is to religiously radicalize Baloch youth. This is my own personal experience. I used to run a language institution, I mean, educational institution in my own area as well. Once a child was there, when he was absent for some days, a few days. So when I asked him why he was absent, so he told me something which was very shocking for me. He told me that he had been told by the religious scholar in the madrasa that you need to go to for jihad. You need to prepare for jihad. Even a child who is 9 to 10 years old, he is educated, he is prepared or brainwashed for jihad. Jihad against whom? This was further shocking for me. Jihad against the ones who were Indian agents and reside in the mountains. I mean, literally, they were, brainwashing the Baloch kids against the Baloch freedom fighters. And he was told the ones who were fighting for the freedom are Indian agents, so they are non-believers. So you need to fight against the non-believers. So in this way, you can find one madrasa in every nook in corner of Baloch villages and all over Balochistan. The Baloch youth have been sent to Afghanistan to fight NATO forces. Many of them were, we cannot say many, but a few of them blew them away against the NATO forces. They were from my own areas. And many Baloch youth were sent to Kashmir to fight Indian forces. They were recruited in Lashkar-e-Taiba and Harakat al-Mujahideen, some sort of religious extremist organizations to fight Indian army. And it has also been said that in Khuzdar areas, in Kharan areas, people of some TTP camps have been set up to recruit Baloch as well and to make them fight against the Shias, against the other sect of Islam. In this way, Baloch society is being religiously radicalized by Pakistani army, ISI, and the others. Now, the recent situation in Balochistan is regarding freedom of expression. People are very scared to talk about even simply Baloch nation and Baloch culture in Balochistan. You cannot believe that social media is totally monitored. Libraries are totally monitored. What sort of books are kept in the libraries? The books which teach revolution and freedom, politics, they are burnt. Some of the libraries were burnt in Balochistan as well. And the schools, private schools are monitored in shape of when, I mean, they send some non-governmental organization for some sort of ads like, I mean, to AIDS awareness, to create AIDS awareness and some other diseases awareness. But actually, they come to collect data of the young people, collect data of the young people. In this way, the families are compelled to tell their children not to speak anything about Baloch, anything about Baloch history, anything about Baloch history. So the ones who are, I mean, active in Twitter and Facebook, I mean, different social media platforms, except the ones who are abroad, like in Gulf or in Europe, but the ones who are in country in Balochistan, they are compelled to uh, put Pakistani flags as their profile picture to show their loyalty to Pakistan. They are told to do so. They are told to do so. If you don't do it, you are always in the sharp surveillance by the Pakistani agents, by the local agents even. So in this way, I mean, it is very much tough to breathe openly in Balochistan. But as people are, I mean, majority of the people in Balochistan are poor. They're financially very weak. They cannot migrate to Europe. A very few people are there in Western countries to raise the voice against the atrocities of Pakistan, to raise the voice against the human rights violations of Pakistan in Balochistan. A very few people you can observe that. I mean, 20 to 30 people are always there and protesting against Pakistan or Iran in Western countries. So in this way, Pakistan, we can say, a sort of, I mean, have totally besieged Baloch society, and people are really unable to breathe openly. They're unable to talk about the Baloch in Balochistan openly. Even if a cultural program is there, like in Khuzdar, Baloch Culture Day, 2nd March was celebrated in Khuzdar. Pakistani local goons and ISI backed death squad threw grenades at the cultural programs, and 2 or 3 Baloch students were martyred there. It means we are not allowed to even celebrate our culture openly. If we try to promote our culture, we are stopped. If we talk about the human rights violations, we are stopped. If our children, if our, I mean, youth is trying to build up a library and try to read, they're stopped, they're monitored. And even in the recently in a university in ICHRRF, but it should be noted that ICHRRF is most disturbed area in Balochistan. In ICHRRF, there's a university, newly built university, Balochistan University. Uh, a religious school is already built in the university as well. And it has been necessary for the students to learn Islam as well there. So it means in a university, you are told to learn Islam, which is taught in already in primary schools and early classes of KG or I mean nursery. But again, they're trying to, I mean, shift the youth from their own struggle towards the religion radicalization and religion extremism. So overall, this was the situation of Balochistan I wanted to mention. So if you have any question, so please proceed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Haidar Ali Baloch, of making us aware about the human rights violation of Baloch civilians in the occupied Balochistan under Pakistani regime. One thing I am curious to ask you is, what is the role of Communist China, government, and Chinese business companies not only in exploitation of mineral wealth of Balochistan, but also in contribution towards atrocities towards the civilian people?
Yeah, that's a good question. As you mentioned that China has been involved in exploiting the Baloch natural resources in different areas of Balochistan, not even in not only in Gwadar, where they have built a port and trying to, operate it, and uh, they're collaborating with Pakistani Navy to build a naval base there as well in Gwadar city. But China has been also contributing towards the atrocities against the Baloch people. Now, once I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was 2020 when a Baloch youth who blew himself against the Chinese convoy in Gwadar. After that, you might know that in UAE, a Baloch was abducted by, taken away by the, I mean, Emirates secret agencies and they handed over to uh, Pakistani officials. And one more rights activist who was Rashid Hussain. He was also handed over by the, UAE government to the Pakistani government. So it is believed that it is not Pakistani's pressure to the UAE that they are handing over the Baloch people to the Pakistan, but it is Chinese pressure. It is purely Chinese pressure. China is pressurizing uh, the countries where Baloch reside. Even I can give you my own example. When we were protesting before the Chinese embassy here in London, so the UK officials came, told us to, I mean, told us not to use the flag because they said they were reported by the Chinese embassy that these people are terrorists. This is the flag of a terrorist organization, and they do not want us to protest, even though it is legally allowed in the United Kingdom to protest against, peacefully protest against any country or against any organization. But we were forced to. We were forced to because it was totally Chinese pressure. And after that, these attacks in Gwadar especially, after these attacks in Gwadar especially, Pakistan has accelerated extrajudicial killing in Balochistan. Now, see, they do not kill and dump people, the ones, kill and dump them like before. Now, what do? They have totally changed their strategy. The ones who are messing for years, they kill them in fake encounters now after the attacks on the Chinese officials. One attack was conducted by a suicide bomber in Karachi on Chinese officials. One was in Gwadar and one was in Khuzdar, Dalbandin, sorry to say, in Dalbandin. So after these attacks, Pakistan has accelerated. In the middle, I bet what they did, they stopped killing them, but they accelerated abducting Baloch youth. But now, after these attacks, it has been, observed that Pakistan has changed the strategy. Now they kill the Baloch youth and activists in the fake encounters. So it is obvious that this is totally Chinese pressure.
My next question to you is that there are a multiplicity of Baloch parties and Baloch freedom groups with a lot of hostility amongst them. Why can't you guys unify and speak with one voice since all of you are working for upholding the human rights of Baloch people and for freedom and independence of Balochistan as a country?
Yeah, it is totally political to have differences among the different political parties. We don't think it is something hostile, but Free Balochistan Movement, as I belong to the organization Free Balochistan Movement. Free Balochistan Movement has initiated this in 2021, November to 2021. We have asked all of the Baloch pro-freedom political parties. We have sent them drafts, and talks are underway with different Baloch political parties like Balochistan Movement, Balochistan Republican Party, as these are the active parties, political parties advocating the human rights violation, human rights and Baloch independence. And there are very positive signs that sooner or later, I should not say later, but soon, you can see a alliance between among Baloch political parties.
If Balochistan were to become a free country, what kind of setup Baloch activists envisage for let's say, an independent Balochistan?
Uh, as a political party, Free Balochistan Movement has issued a paper, a charter, which is called Balochistan Liberation Charter. In all of its article, you can find that we aim to establish a secular and rights respecting country where a state will not have any religion, where the state's responsibility is to protect the all minorities who live in Balochistan, regardless of their religious beliefs. And we believe in equal rights of men and women. And we believe that the ones who live in Balochistan are, if they are from a different nation, different ethnic group, they have equal rights as the Baloch people have. But regarding the government system of the government, this is totally left on the opinion of the people after the independence, when we'll have a parliament which will be representing the people. They decide that what sort of government they would like to choose for the people.
I would like to bring to your attention a very poignant historical example. In the state of Pakistan, there was cultural repression and atrocities committed by non-Punjabi, non-Urdu speaking uh, people in the eastern wing,
Mhm.
which used to be called East Pakistan.
Yep.
With some help from neighboring countries, East Pakistan was liberated to help prevent the oppression, to help prevent the exploitation, violation of human rights. That country started as a secular republic and is now an Islamic republic. And irrespective of party that is governing that country, there are atrocities on minorities. Now, the apprehension is that will Balochistan follow the same path?
Uh, the situation is different. I think the subjects are different here. In East Pakistan, as you mentioned, the British Empire divided India on the name of, I mean, religion. They created an Islamic country. The people in East Pakistan, the Bengali people, they were Muslims in majority. When uh, people, a majority, tries to separate its land, try to gain a separate country on the name of a religion, then definitely you will know, or you can imagine that the religion is quite extreme in that people, among those people. But if you see Baloch people, we are, if you see our history, we are by nature secular people. In 1987, Pakistani state tried to, uh, I mean, make the Zikri and Sunni fight in Balochistan. The state sponsored mullahs even threw bombs on the sacred shrines of the Zikri sect. And there were, I mean, some of the, I mean, in 2 or 3 days, there were some curfews in that area of Cage where the Zikri sacred shrine was. And some of the people got injured. But soon after, since then, Pakistan has tried a lot, but Baloch have never fought for religion. I mean, religious preachers like we say Tablighi in our area, they visit far and wide areas of Balochistan. But you can see that Baloch have still remained the same secular, and the mosques are not as busy as they are in Punjab, where the people of one sect cannot visit the mosque, cannot offer prayers in the mosque of another sect. But you cannot find anything like this in Balochistan. People are totally secular. People do talk about religion, but they never talk, they never want to, they never fought on religion. They never forced anyone to accept religion or reject any sort of religion. For example, take the example of my own house. I belong to a Muslim by birth, a Muslim family by birth. In my house, my family members do offer prayers. I do not, but I've never been forced to. I've never been forced to offer prayers. I've never been, people of my family have never been hostile against me that I do not offer prayers, I do not believe in the religion. Never. We are totally free. All of the youth, all of the family members are free. If someone offers, if someone doesn't, if someone talks against the religion, if someone doesn't. So, if you see the nature of Baloch people, you can guess that Balochistan is not going to be like like a country where minorities do not feel security. In Balochistan, in Hab area of Balochistan or Sonmiani area of Balochistan, Hangla Mata is there. This is a very sacred temple of Hindus. So Pakistani people have tried to harm the ones who are protecting the temple, have tried to disturb the prayers in the temple. But Baloch people have always protected the temple because they think this is their national heritage. In Habchoki, in Derebukti, you can find thousands of population, I mean, population of thousand numbers in Hindu. People are living together there, like they all are Baloch. In Pasni area, a lot of Hindus are there, but they are never, I mean, harassed by any Baloch Muslim, and they feel free to offer their own prayers and practice their own religion.
That brings me to the next question. In the province of Sindh, there is a systematized attempt to abduct, kidnap, rape minor Hindu girls, convert them and force them to marry older Muslim males. And judiciary in most of the cases has sided with the kidnappers and abductors. Is there any similar problem in the province of Balochistan?
Not at all. Not at all. There is no such a problem. In 2017, when not 2017, sorry, 2007 or 2006 maybe, before the martyrdom of Nawab Akbar Khan Bukti, you see when on 17 January in that year, when Pakistan attacked Nawab Akbar Khan Bukti's, castle there in Dera Bukti, most of the dead people were Hindus. Most of the people who died were Hindus. So they were protecting Akbar Khan Bukti. They were, totally like, active in protecting Akbar Khan Bukti like other Baloch people. In Sindh, it is people, the Muslim people believe when you convert a Hindu or a Christian or anyone other than the Muslim, it is a big virtue. It earns them paradise. It earns them Jannah. But in Balochistan, we do not think like this. We do not think like that. Uh, Even Pakistani Punjabis have lived in Balochistan for years and years. They have worked there. They had the shops. They had their businesses there. Now few people, a few, I mean, a very little number is there in Balochistan. But before, majority of the business was held by the Punjabis, local. I mean, Pakistani Punjabis. We were living with them in peace. They were, I mean, living, I mean, in a way as if they felt at home. Regarding the Hindus and other religious minorities, we have always raised voice for their protection. In Keech area of Balochistan, a good majority of, good number of Christians live there. They have never felt any problem living in Keech area. Most of the laborers are Christian there. And a lot of Hindus have their businesses in Abchok in Winder area of occupied Balochistan. They have I mean huge businesses like poultry farm. They are poultry farm. Having poultry farms. They are having different transports there. But some only a few cases were there. The Hindus businessmen were abducted by the Pakistani backed death squads for ransom. But there are very minor cases like this. But religious conversion is equal to none in Balochistan, or there has never been such a case in my sight.
There's a question from Professor Shendurnikar, and she's saying, I'm curious to understand how the movement has survived and thrived despite all the challenges from all the sides, and how does the future look for the movement?
Yeah, uh, it is now clear to every Baloch people in Balochistan that our future is not with Pakistan. You know, in the beginning, when the recent struggle started, there were only a few people fighting in upper areas of Balochistan, like Kohlu, like Kuwait area of Balochistan, occupied Balochistan, like those areas which are tribal areas mostly. But now you can see that it has spread far and wide areas of Balochistan, Makran area, the upper area of Balochistan, like the people from Karachi. I mean, there's a big population of Baloch ethnic people in Karachi. They have also participated in a struggle. It means that it is totally clear with all Baloch youth, men and women, that we don't have a future in Pakistan. Now, if you are sure that you don't have a future with a country, then definitely you do not see the resources, you do not care for your life or your family members, then you jump in it. You can see that now women are actively taking part in Baloch struggle. You might have heard that some women have I mean some of the women were suicide bombers in Balochistan, and most of the people who are protesting now, because men are not allowed to protest in Balochistan, occupied Balochistan. Most of the protesters now in Balochistan are women. Most of them are women. Women is actively taking part in Baloch politics now. So in this way, if you see that in Baloch culture, women is very much respected and venerated. We just believe that the man is protector of women. But now the one, women who is very respected, who is always, protected by their men, has come out. Not even they are not even participating in politics, but in armed struggle as well, which is clearly showing that Balch struggle has a good future and it will sustain till we get liberated.
I don't have any other questions in the chat room, so I'll ask one more question. It's rather peripheral to human rights issue, but still has some implications on human rights. Pakistan in 1998 did some nuclear tests in Chagai Hills. Chagai Hills are located in Balochistan. What was the impact of those nuclear tests on the civilian population in Balochistan?
Yeah, that's a good question. I just forgot to mention the nuclear Pakistan nuclear test in my lecture. In 1998, when Pakistan conducted nuclear tests in district Chaghi area of occupied Balochistan, since then, since then, uh, if you people follow Baloch activists on social media, you can see that some of the lethal diseases like cancer has prevailed in all, blood cancer especially. Blood cancer has prevailed in our over Balochistan. And it is rapidly spreading in Baloch population. One. Secondly, skin diseases there in Chagi areas, particularly in Chagi and a bit surrounding areas of Chagi. The people are suffering from skin disease, different type of skin diseases. I mean, some of their names I do not know. I cannot pronounce them very well. They're suffering from skin diseases, and uh, the water level has gone down rapidly since then. And the all agriculture land is barren now. The farmers in Balochistan are not able to sow any sort of, cultivate any sort of grain or something in that Chagi area and the surrounding areas. And mostly the noticeable disease which has, rapidly spread since then is blood cancer among the Baloch people since 1998. If you see the records, even Pakistani records, Pakistani official record, before 1998, the ratio was not that much high of the patients of blood cancer. Since then, it has become very, very high in Balochistan.
There is a question from Miryar, and the question is that Palestine and Tibet have offices in India. Ali Haidar, what do you think why India was reluctant to allow Baloch movements to have open Balochistan embassy and office? What India can do in order to initiate providing humanitarian assistance and life-saving medicines to Baloch people via pro-independence seeking Baloch leaders like Haidar, Mari and others.
Yeah, that's a good question. This is a question from Baloch nation to Indian people as well, Indian government, Indian people, that uh, historically Baloch have always been a friend to India, and India has always been a friend to Baloch as well. India is the largest, democracy in world. We can say largest secular democracy in the world. And when if we see Pakistan. Pakistan uses every international forum against India advocating the liberation of Kashmir. Even the world knows that it is all Pakistan to push people. From Pakistan, they enter into Kashmir and try to destabilize, Kashmir peace. But India has always been reluctant to openly talk about Balochistan. Once Prime Minister Modi ji, mentioned it in his speech. But since then, none of the Indian leaders have mentioned about Balochistan. It is not expected from India to just openly advocate for Baloch freedom, but at least we expect that India should raise voice against the human rights violations in Balochistan, against the displacement of the civilians in Balochistan, about the abduction and the different sort of atrocities in Balochistan. India can also, on the we say in the on the international forums, can also raise voice against atrocities in Balochistan, and at least we expect India to, as Miriar mentioned, that if they open an office of Baloch struggle in India, this will be, I think, very huge benefit. I mean, huge blessing from India to us. And we have never had any conflict with India, with Indian narratives over Pakistan or the region. And as China is investing in Balochistan, this is totally strategic because Balochistan is located in a place where if China builds a naval base, so it is the CPEC we call the so-called CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. This is not, I mean, an economical project. This is totally a strategic and military project. If China comes here and it, I mean, builds a naval base, so it can control the area against the regional powers like India and the international power like America and Britain. So this is for our mutual benefit, for Baloch and Indian mutual benefit to support Baloch, and we expect it, and that India will sooner or later do it.
Does your movement have an office, let's say in Washington, D.C., and Geneva and London?
No, politically, if we talk about the political parties, we do have offices in different countries. Like our branches are there in America. We have our branch in Germany. We have our branch offices in London as well, but not as a movement as a whole. We don't have any office in any country like as a whole as the movement. We do not.
I think if you have to raise the level of awareness about human rights, you need to be proactive in Geneva and United Nations, especially in Washington, D.C., because you will get more bandwidth if you are able to illustrate human rights violations
Yep.
rather than taking the political route of trying to affect the local geopolitics in the subcontinent region. So my advice would be to work with human rights organizations, submit your reports, submit your fact-finding commissions and all that sort of thing. That would be helpful. From We consider ourselves as a human right international commission for human rights and religious freedom, so we cannot support anything that requires armed struggle, terrorism, but we do uphold human rights and religious freedom values.
Yep.
And we will be doing a genocide conference in Washington, D.C. in September.
In September, yep.
Yes. And we would welcome you to come to Washington, D.C. and make your case. And at that time, you can bring your data in paper form and things like that. So that will give you a platform.
Yeah.
We'll welcome you there in the Forgotten Genocides Conference on September 23rd.
September 23rd.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your valuable suggestions, and we will do so on the platform of Reviews a moment.
There's one more question from Professor Shendurnikar. Please recommend some sources which can be used with students for educating them about human rights situation in Balochistan.
Yeah, but if you elaborate the question, I could not get the question properly.
Please recommend, she's an academic, she's a college professor, and she wants you to tell us, please recommend some sources which can be used with students for educating them about the human rights situation in Balochistan.
You mean the students in India?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some websites, I mean, advocating Baloch liberation movement and human rights as well. One of the websites I'd like to mention, they have Facebook pages as well. IVBMP, International Voice for Baloch Missing Persons. If you go there, you can find data about Baloch missing persons, Baloch, I mean, killed people, the ones who were missing, later killed and dumped. And another website I would like to mention is Begwa, Begwah, Begwa, where you can find total data of missing people who are, I mean, the date, their names, the place of abduction, the year of abduction, the date of abduction. All of the data is available in Begwa as well. And we have our own site as well, freebalochistan.com. Uh, this time to time we just update our website on political issues, not the human rights issues only, but political plus human rights issues in freebalochistan.com. And other different sites are there. At the moment, I do not remember their names, but these sites particularly tell you Begwa and IBUMP, International Voice for Baloch Missing Person, about the human rights violation in Balochistan.
It was indeed great pleasure to have you come and address us. It is sad that, Baloch people's civil liberties are being trampled upon and there are atrocities being committed on them. We wish you success in your struggle to uphold the human rights of Baloch people as a nation.
Thank you very much.
As we said, that we would like you to come to our Washington, D.C. conference on forgotten genocides and make your case, to the international community. That would be very much welcome. Stay in touch with us.
Thank you
And
very much.
as far as upholding human rights and religious freedom is concerned, we will continue to help you, but we cannot make any political help or other kind
Sure.
of help.
Sure. I'm very thankful to you, and thank you very much for inviting me and giving me a chance to talk about the human rights violations. And I hope to be in touch with you regarding the human rights issues in Balochistan in future as well.
Thank you very much indeed, Haidar Ali.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure to host you. But
Thank you.
again, it is sad that these things are happening in 21st century when world has shut its eyes on human rights violations, especially the Western governments that are allies of Pakistan.
Yep.
So we hope that situation changes. And with that, we will be ending this Speaking Up series seminar. A video recording of this program will be available on our website and on our YouTube channel within next 24 hours. And you can, circulate that amongst your friends and activists, Baloch
Of course.
activists. So this would be available to everyone.
Thank you very much. Have a good rest of the day.
Okay, namaskar.
Thank you. Namaste.